Did you know that mood and emotional disorders affect 50 to 70% of patients living with MS? These disorders are more prevalent or more common in patients with MS than the general population. Symptoms from these disorders can include anxiety, depression, stress, irritability, and many other symptoms. In this series, we'll explore how a healthy mindfulness practice can help to reduce symptoms from emotional and mood disorders. We'll also talk about yoga and meditation and how that can help with stress reduction.
Mindfulness basically means that you empty your mind and you're 100% involved in what you're doing that's right in front of you. So for example, if I come into a clinic and I'm to see a patient, and I'm sitting down with that patient and I'm thinking about all the emails I have to return and all of the phone calls that I have to return and the dog who needs to get let out when I got home and oh my gosh, I didn't exercise today and what am I going to eat for lunch? Then I'm not present with that person at all. And the practice of being mindful is leaving all of that other stuff at the door so that you are 100% present and can provide a better interaction with yourself or with the person that's sitting in front of you. I love the phrase, "be here now," which was termed by Jon Kabat-Zinn, who is a professor, really one of the founding fathers of mindfulness as we know it in the Western culture. He started a type of mindfulness called mindfulness-based stress reduction that's used all over the world to help people learn how to be more mindful and also to manage stress, anxiety, pain, and lots of other emotional and mental conditions.
Mindfulness is a type of a mind-body technique that is very similar to meditation. It's become very popular, and its goal is to help people live more in the moment. When people live more in the moment, they're able to better regulate their emotions and behaviors, and particularly they're better able to deal with negative events. So stress and other issues like pain, depression, anxiety have all shown improvements with this technique. The way mindfulness works is a little bit complicated. What we see is that when people are more self-aware, they're able to regulate their emotions and their behavioral responses. So the idea would be that if you're living with pain, depression, or spasticity, or another significant symptom, it reduces your response to these symptoms. Whereas instead of fighting against or having a negative reaction to those symptoms, you accept them and you're able to live with them. At the neuroscience level, looking at what happens in the brain, we see that new connections are made, new networks are made, that allow different processing of negative emotions or negative symptoms.
Mindfulness can be defined as bringing awareness to the present moment, sometimes thought of as with compassion and acceptance. I like Jon Kabat-Zinn's definition of mindfulness, which is the awareness that comes from bringing our attention on purpose to the present moment without judgment. That non-judgment is of ourselves, of others, of our thoughts. And when we bring our mind to present moment without judgment, it allows us not to be worrying ahead or thinking about what has already happened. Those two things take up a lot of our time. And so it is the cultivation of having our attention and awareness on the present. And so mindfulness can really benefit everyone, but particularly if you're dealing with an ongoing or chronic illness, mindfulness has the opportunity to bring many, many benefits, including that development of, I mentioned, metacognition, or the noticing where the focus of the mind is. And when we've got health issues going on, our mind may go to that quite a lot of the time, or the experience of discomfort or pain in the body. And so mindfulness can help us notice that that's what we're paying attention to and help us shift the focus to something that's neutral or positive. That can be useful in terms of the experience in the moment and our well-being over time. And that would be for both people who are living with MS and their family members. And we know that dealing with the changes in the body, the adjustment of expectations, can be very difficult, and yet to be able to be present in our moment with the people that we love is really, really important.
Mindfulness is important for people with multiple sclerosis because it decreases stress levels. Stress can increase the amount of symptoms people with MS experience. And so when we create a framework with mindfulness for dealing with that stress, the symptoms can improve. Mindfulness is particularly helpful for people with MS who experience anxious or depressive symptoms or have significant pain or spasticity. 3 major recent studies have shown that mindfulness is important for MS, and when people undergo a mindfulness training program, their anxious symptoms, their depressive symptoms, and their quality of life all improve.
There is a recent publication from a group in Italy with collaboration from Harvard, and they tested an online meditation intervention versus a psychoeducational intervention to look at its effect on the quality of life and some psychological comorbidities like depression and anxiety for patients with MS. They had about 139 participants, and they let them undergo this online MS-specific meditation intervention, compared it with an active education group, and they checked on how they did with quality of life at 2 months, at 6 months, to see if there were any differences. And they found out that there were significant differences in those outcomes, and they were better for the patients with MS who underwent the online meditation group, or online meditation intervention. Meditation is a skill. You have to keep on practicing it until it becomes a habit, and at a certain point, it becomes a trait. Because if you really look at it, mindfulness is something that is part of our being. We are born mindful. We just forgot about that. If you look at children and they're really focused on something, they don't care about anything else. They're just focused. They're just focused on what they are doing and mindful about it. So I think that intervention is something that needs to be replicated, of course, with bigger participants. But I like the way they approached it because it makes meditation more accessible to people, for instance, in the West, and for people who have a disability or some problems with mobility, such as MS.
Often, when we're dealing with a chronic illness, we are thinking about it a lot. We are perhaps experiencing changes in the body and pain conditions that are new or chronic. Our family members are thinking about our experience and the changes in our relationships. And so as we develop mindfulness skills, we are developing the ability to have an awareness of what's in our mind and some intention about what we want to be thinking about. So that selective attention is something we build with mindfulness, noticing where the focus of our mind is, and then if it's the right time for that, letting ourselves continue to think about that, or knowing that we have the opportunity to shift our focus to something perhaps that's more neutral or pleasant in the present moment. And that can be helpful for people with MS and also their family members and loved ones.
There are lots of examples of mindfulness that are easy to incorporate into your regular life. In fact, it's a lot easier than it sounds. One of these is the practice of mindful eating. So mindful eating means that you eliminate distractions when you sit down for a meal, which these days we don't do. We all have our cell phones, sitting right at our placemat. So you eliminate distractions, you focus on the food in front of you, you chew slowly, you enjoy your food as a sensory experience, and you basically slow down the process. Other ways of being mindful are creating a ritual that forces you to slow down. For example, if you have to go pick up a child at school, before you open your car door, you take a deep breath, you inhale and you exhale, and you leave behind what you don't need so that you can interact with your child in a positive way. Maybe you wash your hands a lot during the day because of your profession. When you wash your hands, you can use that 30-second to 60-second break to experience emptying of the mind and to take some deep breaths and calm down your nervous system.
One of the things that's important when we educate patients about meditation is meditation is not about making your mind blank. That's a myth. Because the mind is really meant to think thoughts. That's what the mind's supposed to do. Meditation is not about controlling your thoughts, because the thoughts will come, and the more you push them back, the more they're going to push back at you. Meditation is more of not allowing your thoughts to control you. When my patients or my students tell me, but I keep on thinking, I say, well, that's good, because now you have more material to practice. What the aim of meditation is to have you open to what comes in, observe it, and then let it go. You don't need to control your thoughts, because the more you do that, the more it's going to grow. What you resist, persist. And so another myth about meditation, that it's supposed to be a calming thing. Sometimes it can be calming. But sometimes if you're alone with your thoughts and those thoughts come in and out and they're thoughts that you don't like, it's actually very irritating and annoying. So the key is, how do you just allow those thoughts to come and go? At the start, it's not very relaxing. As I said, it can be, but not all the time. Another myth of meditation is it's only supposed to be done by people who are trained to do it. You know, you have to go in a mountain retreat, you have to sit cross-legged, you have to be in a very quiet environment. That is also not true. More and more meditation is becoming mainstream, and there are forms of meditation when you actually don't have to be still. There are moving forms of meditation. For example, Tai Chi is moving meditation. Some people would say that yoga also fits that category. When you're able to engage on a focus, whether that's the breath, a sound, a mantra, a color, an object, that is meditation. That's focused attention.
Many people ask me how to start a mindfulness practice because they feel that they can't even calm their minds down or quiet their minds for a second. If this is the case for you, I'd encourage you to start with a breathing technique like the 4-7-8 breath. You can also find a lot of low-cost or free apps on your smartphone. If you're looking for more of a movement-based meditation, you can find yoga, Tai Chi, and Qigong classes locally. If you have adaptive needs because of your MS symptoms, and there aren't any specific MS-based classes for these modalities in your area, I'd encourage you to look for either chair yoga classes or senior yoga classes that may be a bit more adaptive and fit your needs.
Mindful breathing or focused breathing practices are also informal mindfulness practices, and there are many, many varieties of that. And so I'm going to invite you to do just a little focused breathing practice with me right now. And so if you'll join me, let's imagine breathing in through the nose and out through the nose or mouth. So let's breathe in calm. Breathe out tension. Breathe in calm. Breathe out tension. Having the exhales longer than the inhales. And when we breathe with the exhales longer than the inhales, it stimulates the soothing part of the nervous system. So one more time, breathing in calm and breathing out tension. Thank you for joining me.